In April 1810, a pirate fleet did not get destroyed. It negotiated. The Qing record does not end this case with a last stand, a hanging, or a wreck. It ends with pork, wine, silver tallies, government office, and a pardon large enough to turn a coastal war into an administrative problem. That is the contradiction. For years, the Red Banner fleet had pushed the Guangdong coast into crisis. Then near Macau and Xiangshan, the same state that had failed to defeat it accepted its submission. The question is not whether Zheng Yi Sao was famous. The question is how a pirate command became a political settlement. The case begins in the Pearl River Delta, where the sea is not open water so much as a broken map. Channels run between Macau, Canton, Xiangshan, Humen, Lantau, and the villages that fed them. Junks could move through water an imperial squadron could not easily control. A fleet did not need to own a capital city if it could tax the passages into one. By 1807, Zheng Yi's confederation had become the largest pirate structure on that coast. The records and later scholarship describe several banner fleets, each marked by color and commander. The Red Banner was the strongest. When Zheng Yi died near the end of 1807, power did not simply pass to one man, it passed into an arrangement. Zheng Yi Sao, his widow, held authority through the Zhang network. Zhang Bao, young, visible, and militarily useful, became the fighting commander beside her. A later Qing account by Wen Chengji gives the line that matters most. Zhang Bao obeyed Zheng Yi Sao's orders and consulted her before acting. That sentence is not romance. It is an official observer describing command. The first warning was not a single battle. It was the government's inability to make victory stay won. The Imperial Navy could send junks. It could issue orders. It could punish villages accused of helping pirates. But the pirate fleets could move between coast, river, market, and island. They did not survive only by force. They survived because coastal people traded with them, feared them, hid them, supplied them, or had no better protection from anyone else. The visual map of the case is a tightening ring, Canton inland, Macau at the western mouth, Humen at the river gate, Lantau to the east, and Xiangshan between the Portuguese city and Qing authority. Every place in the ring wanted the pirates removed. None of them wanted the same political price for removing them. In 1809, the pressure changed. Portuguese Macau had been paying for armed vessels. British merchants in the Pearl River were watching, ready to offer help if the Qing looked too weak. Qing officials in Canton had been embarrassed by repeated military failures and could not afford another season of public defeat. The coastal economy needed the channels reopened. And inside the Pirate Confederation, the strongest commanders had begun calculating what a surrender might buy before a weaker one accepted terms first. The Portuguese Qing Convention put numbers to the pressure. 6 armed Portuguese ships working with the imperial fleet at the Boca do Tigre and towards Xiangshan. 80,000 taels of silver for expenses. On paper, this was cooperation. In practice, Macau wanted compensation and prestige. Qing officials wanted results without handing too much influence to foreigners, and the pirates understood both needs. One of them, Guo Po Dai of the Black Banner Fleet, surrendered first. He received pardon in office. The example mattered. Zheng Yi Sao saw a precedent, and the precedent turned force into bargaining power. If a weaker commander could surrender and be rewarded, a stronger one could ask for more. The first opening came through rumor. Zheng Yi Sao let it be known that the Red Banner Fleet might submit. A local official near Canton heard it and sent Zhou Feixiong, an apothecary from Macau, who knew the pirates, to inquire. That detail is small, but it changes the scene. The first bridge between the fleet and the Governor-General was not a warship. It was a civilian intermediary trusted enough to talk. Governor-General Bailing then moved toward negotiation. The pirates assembled near Humen. Flags went up. Drums sounded. Guns were fired. Zheng Yi Sao and Zhang Bao came aboard and performed submission before the Qing authority. Then Portuguese ships appeared. The pirates took the site as a trap. They broke away. The meeting collapsed. Bailing returned to Canton, believing the surrender had failed. That failed meeting is the midpoint of the case. Until that moment, the question is whether the Qing can persuade the Red Banner Fleet to surrender. After it, the question changes. Can anyone build enough trust for a surrender when every side suspects the others are using negotiation as bait? The answer came from Zheng Yi Sao herself. The Humen translation of Yuan Yonglun's contemporary chronicle says that envoys returned to the pirates and warned them not to let the opportunity pass. The same passage records that Zheng Yi Sao answered that she would go herself to Canton with other women, accompanied by the intermediary. Zhang Bao, laughing, said they would send their wives to settle the affair. The line is easy to misread as color. It is not. It is the mechanism. The delegation lowered the military temperature without lowering the stakes. Women and children could enter the yamen in a way an armed fleet could not. The Red Banner fleet was still outside. The bargaining power had not disappeared. I read that sequence as the hinge of the episode. The state could not force trust, so Zheng Yi Sao staged it. When the wives and children appeared before Bailing, the governor-general accepted the explanation that the pirates had fled because of a false impression. The chronicle gives him a careful official sentence. He was commanded by the humanity of the emperor's government not to kill, but to pardon. He therefore pardoned Zhang Bao. Then the submission moved to Fooying Shao, near Xiangshan, the place modern summaries usually fold into the Macau surrender. Macau mattered because Portuguese ships, Arriaga's mediation, and the politics of the city shaped the deal. But the actual formal submission in the Chinese chronicle occurs near Xiangshan, outside Macau's walls. That distinction is worth keeping. The story is not one city receiving one famous commander. It is a border zone absorbing a fleet. The terms were concrete. Each vessel received pork and wine. Each man received a paper tally for money. Those who wished to enter government service could join the campaign against the remaining pirates. Those who did not were dispersed inland. That is not the language of a duel. It is the language of demobilization. Other sources give the size of the surrender in different ways. Yuan's translated chronicle describes the process and says the Red Squadron was pacified. A Macau account says Campau Sai surrendered with about 280 junks, 16,000 men, 5,000 women, 7,000 swords and spears, and 200 cannon. Robert Antony's document collection gives a related official figure, more than 17,000 followers including women and children, with roughly 280 junks and thousands of weapons. Richard Glasspool's captivity account, printed with the Humen translation, gives a wider contemporary rumor field. He wrote that at the time of his captivity, the pirates were supposed to number near 70,000 men, with hundreds of large vessels and many smaller craft. He also wrote that the ultimate surrender involved 16,000 men and a general pardon. Glasspool is useful, but he is not the surrender clerk. He was a captive hearing estimates from inside a violent and unstable world. His numbers help us see scale. They do not settle the official arithmetic. The numbers do not perfectly match because the records are counting different moments and categories. The safe conclusion is still large enough. This was not one captain asking for mercy. It was a mass surrender measured in ships, weapons, families, and future labor. The record is stranger than the popular version. The settlement spared many pirates, but it did not pardon everyone. Macau's retrospective account says a general pardon excluded named categories of offenders. Some were executed, others exiled, others punished for fixed terms. Antony's synthesis of Qing records confirms it. A subset of Zheng Yi Sao's followers were tried and punished. Johnson's 1724 pirate history has almost nothing to do with this case. The distortion here is later and popular. The legend turns a negotiated conversion, service, exile, execution, resettlement, and office into an individual escape from consequence. Zhang Bao's role after the surrender proves the point. Bailing did not simply let him vanish. The government made him useful. Former pirate vessels and former pirate knowledge were redirected against the remaining fleets. Zhang Bao was placed in the vanguard against Western Passage pirates. Later accounts describe him rising in Qing naval service. That is the settlement's deepest bargain. The state did not defeat pirate expertise. It bought it. The Portuguese record adds another layer. Macau's leaders believed their armed ships had made the surrender possible. They had costs to recover and prestige to protect. Their account complains that the surrendered ships, cannon, weapons, and goods went to the Chinese without the compensation Macau expected. It also records that the signing of the relevant agreement took place 5 days after the surrender was completed. That complaint is not a side note. it shows the political economy of the ending. If the pirates surrendered at Macau, Macau could claim the moment more directly. If the handover happened near Xiangshan under Qing control, the credit and the material proceeds moved toward Canton. The difference between Macau and Fooying was therefore not only geographic, it was a dispute about ownership of victory. What makes Zheng Yi Sao central is not that she stood above those forces. It is that she read them. She saw what Guopadai's surrender had proven. She used rumor before commitment. She let Zhang Bao carry military presence while she carried political credibility. And when the first meeting failed, she moved the negotiation into a different social form. Women and children entering Canton while the fleet remained the unspoken fact outside the room. I cannot turn that into a private motive. The record does not give her thoughts. It gives her sequence of actions. That is enough. This surrender stands apart from the Western pirate cases this channel usually handles. Atlantic records end with trial, gallows, wreck, disappearance, or pardon for a few who turn evidence. Here the end is a negotiated mass settlement. The Qing state had a problem a rope could not solve. Too many vessels, too many families, too many coastal contacts, too many remaining fleets. Killing one commander would not reopen the channels. Destroying one squadron would not rebuild trust in the villages. But a surrender ceremony, tallies of money, food distribution, resettlement, selective punishment, and new military appointments could make the fleet legible to the state. The Red Banner fleet did not disappear. It was broken into categories. Some men became soldiers, some went inland, some were punished. Some women and children were sent home. Some leaders became officials. Some ships and guns were absorbed into future campaigns. The visual record even preserves the government's preferred ending. The Hong Kong Maritime Museum's painting Pacifying the South China Sea, dated 1810, commemorates the defeat of pirates around Guangdong. Its scenes include planning coastal defense, accepting surrender, and besieging pirates at Lantau. The painting is not neutral, it is victory art. But victory art can still tell us what the state wanted remembered. Not a woman outwitting an empire, but an empire restoring order. The documents make a different image visible beside it. A yamen in Canton, intermediaries moving between city and fleet, Portuguese ships appearing at the wrong moment, wives and children entering as guarantees of seriousness, food and money distributed vessel by vessel, former pirates sent to fight other pirates. Visual reconstructions in this episode are based on those records and museum references. They are not archival footage. Faces, weather, and small details are illustrative. The documents, places, numbers, and sequence are the evidence. The final analysis is simple, but not comfortable. Zheng Yi Sao's surrender was not the collapse of pirate power into justice. It was the conversion of pirate power into a settlement the Qing could administer. The Red Banner fleet reached a scale where execution was too small a policy, and Zheng Yi Sao helped design the path into the deal that replaced it. The record does not ask us to admire the fleet. It shows villages raided, captives taken, coastlines frightened, and officials repeatedly outmaneuvered. Fishing villages along the delta had been paying protection fees to the Banner fleets for years. Family members were taken as hostages for ransom and as labor. The popular story tends to forget that ledger. The settlement at Fooying did not erase it. It folded it into a state arrangement. The government did not only want revenge. It wanted the sea lanes quiet, the villages resettled, the Portuguese contained, the British kept from gaining credit, and the remaining pirates hunted by men who knew how pirates moved. The surrender was the price of making piracy governable. The popular story remembers the woman because the image is easy to sell. The record remembers the deal because that is where the war ended. Between those two memories is the actual case, a pirate command that survived long enough to negotiate its own dismantling.